Tell us about your brothers, Herbert and Frederick.
Herbert
And Frederick?
Herbert was the oldest one. Fred was the next one. Herbert was the foreman at the brewery on the mineral stores. Yeah, he was in charge of the foreman. And of course, after he was made foreman, my mum, he said to my mum, he said, "Mum, why don't you let the old boy come up with the old man's truck," he said, "and get some bottles," he said, "and sell some bottles of lemonade from the house." He said, "That'll make you a copper or two for to spend." "Oh yeah, all right. If Harry or Greet would go up there," he said, "well, I can do it." He said, "I can make it so he can put the old man's big truck behind his bike and pull it up, ride it up empty." He said, "Even if he has to walk with it coming home with a loaded, he's got plenty of time to do that." Anyhow, Harry agreed, didn't I? Anything Mother asked me to do, I used to just think it over and say, "Yeah, all right, okay, I'll give it a try," you know. And so that was it. So we had the minerals in there. But Fred, he was a different character altogether. He was a real loner, he was.
What did he do?
He would go out on his own and he'd go rambling all day long.
Did he have a job?
He worked at a brewery. He had the job he was at a brewery was he was assistant brewer. He worked on the big vats, and he was forever more being pulled up with the police, being semi-drunk with his bike, and it was where he was cleaning the big vats and that. The fumes were getting down him and causing him the sensation of being drunk.
What do you remember about the old Baptist church?
The Baptist church.
Yes, what do you remember?
Reverend Willis. I was a choir boy.
Yeah.
I used to sing in there, and to sing in the choir. I had quite a good voice and one day I lost my voice through an accident that happened. We at Northfield School always used to play the Dunstable Grammar School 2 games of football to 2 games of rugby. Well, rugby was the grammar school's game, football was the Northfield School. And one Saturday we played the grammar school and we beat them. First time, I think we ever beat the buggers, because they was brilliant rugby players. And we managed to knock an old team up, managed to tumble them and beat them. It was only a matter of a few points. Anyhow, I said to one of my mates one Tuesday night, I said, "Here, do us a laugh tonight." So I said, "What really?" I said, "Well, when Rennie Willis, that was Raymond Willis, that was the vicar's son, comes from choir practice," I said, "take the piss out of him." I said, about being beat at rugby. I said, "Of course, Northfield beat him at rugby this week." I said, "Give him a bit of welly." I said, "Take the mickey out of him." Anyhow, of course, it came to him. At that time, I had a swollen mouth. Tooth had all been loosened and that. And the old mate got all of it. Rennie said, "Oh, this grammar dog got beat by Northfield at rugby." You know, started taking the mickey out of him. And He said, yeah, but he said, I took the bloody mickey out of one of them, didn't he? He said, oh, he said, did you? He said, yeah. He said, I put my foot up in the bloody scrum. He said, you what? He said, I kicked somebody in the scrum. Who was it he kicked? Harry. I looked at him, I said, so it was you that kicked me in the bloody mouth, was it, Raymond? Bang! I hit him. Never, no hesitation, that's me. Bang! Smack in the mouth, because I've got some rotten old knuckles here, you can see them. The old copper reckons I've got, bare knuckle fighters.
So the old church, do you remember it being pulled down?
No, I don't, because I think that was brought down in the wartime. Yeah. Did they ever rebuild it?
It's the Baptist is now round on Parkside.
Yeah.
So they've got a new church there.
Modern church, yeah.
I wondered whether they ever rebuilt the old church there. No.
Tell us about how you met your wife, Olive.
How I met my wife.
Yeah.
I joined the army. Yeah, joined the army. And came home, went to Bury St Edmunds, and met her, and one day one of the lads there turned around to me and said, you ride a motorbike, mate? I said, yeah, why? He said, I heard you talking about something about a Valacet 350. I said, yeah, I've got one in the shed at home. He said, he said, I ride a motorbike. It come from Bedford. His name was White, Jack White. So I said, oh yeah. He said, I've got in charge at Sergeant Major. He said, and asked him, he said, if I can have my motorbike here, so that if I wanted to go home for a weekend, when we got a weekend, or I could go home on it. And he's going to make inquiries through the officers and that. Agreed to do that. So he said, yeah, anyhow, he got his permission. They got permission. Jack did, to bring his motorbike. He got a Scott Flying Squirrel. That was a water-cooled twin-cylinder motorbike. Lovely bikes they were. Of course, White, his old man, had got a fleet of lorries, and he got a gravel and sand pit somewhere, what he used to do, shingling and all that sort of thing. And White had got a little bit of a share in that, so of course he could have. His six and tanner a week was nothing for him. He was getting a couple of £3 a week from his old man to live on. He'd always got. He could always show you £5, Jack could, in his pocket. And he said to me one day, he said, H. I said, yeah, Jack. He said, where do you live? I said, oh, in a village. Do you? Where? I said, just outside Dunstable, called Houghton Regis. Houghton Regis? He said, you've got a big church there, ain't you? And a big pub on the opposite side of the road. I said, yeah. That's right, the King's Arms. Bloody hell, he said, I go through that way every time I go home of a weekend. He said, let's see if Sergeant Major will grant you permission to come home for a weekend when we can get the time off. So I said, God, that'd be smashing. He said, we can nip home. Of course, in them days, that was a godsend to get home for a couple of hours. Sergeant Major called me and said, H. Yes, Sergeant Major? He said, yeah, Captain, I forget what his name is, said that by all means, if you want to go home over a weekend, all I've got to do is get you the weekend passes, and you two lads can go home for the weekend, providing you don't bugger about and stop, you don't stop away, you come back as you should do. I always said, we'll do that, don't worry about that. Anyhow, so of course, one Friday night, a knock on the front door at home. Mum shouted out, I don't want nothing this week, sir. So I said, well, I do, I want a bloody bed. Of course, when she heard the show, what are you doing now? My mate was standing there. So I said, come on in, Jack. I said to my mum, Mum, this is my army pal, Jack White. I said, he's in bed. But I said, my dad looked at it, I said, who? He said, who's the motorbike then? Jack said, that's mine. He said, we've come home on it. He said, I come home every weekend that I get when there's a weekend pass, Friday night till Sunday night. He said, that gives me home for the Friday night and the Saturday night. He said, and then go back on the Sunday. He said, and I thought of Harry here, thought he'd like to come home. I said, that's why we've come home on the QT. Is that all right? Of course, he said, of course it is. Well, come in and have a cup of tea, boy, before you go back home. I'm sure you do with one. Anyhow, and he sat there for about half an hour, 3/4 an hour, White did, talking to me mum and dad. And that's how it was. I got to know him there. Everything went all right. I was like, I'd been called up. I came home one week, the week we had done all the training. Came home for the weekend, and Mum said, I said, home for 7 days. Here's my ration ticket, and that, and so I said to my mum I said, what are you doing Saturday night? My dad said, we're going down to British Legion. I said, oh yeah, what's on down there? He said, there's a dance down there. He said, get a few down there. He said, the villagers and that, and a few chaps and that. He said, some of the village lads that are home on leave in the army, who you know, you'll probably be there. So I said, all right. I said, I'll come down and have a couple of pints with you then, Dad, Right, mate. Anyhow, went down there, sat down at a table, me and Mum and me dad. Both my other brothers were away, different places. I forget where Fred was, somewhere in England, and Herbert, he was on the travels, because he was an army cook with the Canadian Tank Brigade, And Fred, he was in the 1721st Lancers or the 4th Hussars. He was in one of those 2 regiments, Tank Brigade, And so we went in there and sat in there, and the bloke across the other side of the dance floor at the old British Legion on the green was going like this. I said, who's he waving to, me or you, Mum? Having a laugh. And she said, I don't know. I said, well, whatever it wants, let him bloody come over and see. Anyhow, this chap got fed up with it. Of course, when he got up and come over, and I, bloody hell, hello, David. David Green, his name was. He said, Harry, are you on your own? I said, yeah. I said, yeah. Come home for a week, for a few days, leave. I said, got 7 days leave. So he said, well, would you like to come and join me and my girlfriend? She's got a pal from next door. They live in Pointers Road. Oh, yeah. As soon as I see you, the girl he was with, hello, Daphne. Daphne Greenland, her name was. And she said, hello, Harry. She said, oh, by the way, she said, this is my neighbour, Olive. She said, I said, oh, So I said, you live at number 180 then, don't you, sweetheart? She says, yeah. I said, oh. So she said, you know Daphne, don't you? I said, yeah, Daphne. I used to call on her mum with bread. And that. Anyhow, so of course that's how I met my dear beloved wife. Anyhow, at the dance, Daphne Greenland was a girl for mate. She was always after making money. And she turned into a cousin who lived in Houghton Regis. I forget what her cousin's name was. At the top end of the village. They were running a club. You know, I forget the name of the club, what it was called, but clothes and all that sort of thing. And David said, by the way, me and Daphne have got to the village to see Sissy, but Harry, don't worry, I'll be back down here about 10:30 to pick Olive up to take her home. So don't worry. So I said, well, if you ain't down here, don't worry if we ain't here. I said, I should be walking her home. Because I said I shall take her home, make sure she gets home safely. So he said, all right. I somehow sort of, something about this girl took my fancy. What it was, I don't know, but it did. And that's how I picked up with my wife.
Yeah, and it lasted, what, 60 years? Yeah.
64 years. But, of course, girls, I didn't know nothing about girls. I didn't know A to Z about this business of called sex. We didn't care about bloody girls in the village.
So you got married.
Yeah.
Where did you live when you were married?
I lived at Pointers Road for a short period. I worked at two or three different places, which I've told you about. Went back to the bakehouse after I come out of the army, but that wasn't no good to me. Olive said to me, well, this ain't no good to us if we're going to have a family. We got to get some better work, mate. Then I went to, where did I go from the bakehouse? Oh, I went to Haywood and Tyler's, a little factory in Luton. Worked there for a period for about 12 months. The old father-in-law got me a job there, more money. I learned to drive a fork truck and that sort of thing there.
Do you remember the opening of Bedford Square?
The what?
Do you remember the opening of Bedford Square?
Opening of Bedford?
Square?
No.
The centre.
The
shopping centre.
At what?
At Houghton Regis shopping centre with Hattie Jenks.
No,
Don't remember that.
No.
What other stories can you tell us about things going on in Houghton Regis then?
So of course, that's there. Then I changed my job from Haywood and Tyler's to Freddie Carter's, scrap merchant, and he was good to me. Yeah. And,
scrap merchant, where was he? In Luton?
No, he was at Dunstable, Church Street. Yeah. Lorry driving. And Olive said to me one day, still do with a better job, mate. And she worked at AC Delco, Olive did. She was a inspector on plugs, on the aircraft plugs.
Was that up in Dunstable?
Yeah, top of Houghton Road, top of the village, top of Houghton Road there. Well, they've built a estate there now, haven't they? They built an estate of there between Houghton Regis and French's Avenue. they've built all them houses there. That was where, that wasn't Waterloo's sports field was, yeah. But anyhow, Olive got on to me, he said, why don't you try Delco, see what you can now drive a fork truck, you can now that you've got something you can say that you can do. Why don't you try Delco? So of course AC Delco come out there. I went in on the Monday morning, and said, yeah, I said something or other, talking to the old personnel manager, David Bidwell his name. Well, Bidwell was his name, and I said, my wife's been getting on to me about coming here. She works here. Your wife works here? I said, yeah. Where does she work? I said, is it called a plug shop? It's something to do with plugs. She does inspecting of aircraft plugs. He picked the phone up, rung somebody up. Yeah. You got a Mrs. Ballard works for you? Yeah. Oh. Will you tell her that this is Mr. Bidwell? He's got her husband here, and he's come to see about a job. So they said, oh yeah, Ollie's a good, brilliant inspector. Excellent worker. Of course, good name that she got. Put a good word in for me, didn't it? So he turned and he says, right, okay, thank you. All the best. Yeah. He said, okay, Harry. He said, now then, let's see what we can do. Let's have a look. The only thing he says, does it matter what it is? I said, I don't care what work it is, what sort of work it is, I'll give it a go. I said, I want to learn to work to earn money, because me and my wife, we want to start a family. I said, and you can't start families without money. No, you're quite right there, young man. Of course, that was how things went, and the best laugh of what it was, old Bidwell looked at me, he said, yeah, he says, right, let's have a sort around the factory so we'll see where we can put you, where the money is. And he turned around and he said, how about press operating? I said, I'll have a go at anything. I said, I'm pretty mechanically minded. I said, I can put a motorbike together, repair a motorbike, I can repair a car engine. I said, I've got a good mind, a good brain of that sort of thing. Oh, he said, right, and he rung up. Yes, there's a vacancy in the press shop. They'll be wanting 3 or 4 more press operators in a couple of weeks' time, or a week's time, or as soon as possible. I said, right. So of course I went back, and where was I working? I was working for Freddie Carter. I told Freddie, I said, I'm packing up working here Friday night, Mr. Carter. I said, I've got a job where I can earn more money. Okay, Harry, thank you for being of help. He was quite a good boss, old Freddie was. So I reported on the Monday morning at Delco. Introduced me, Mr. Bernard Allen, I shall always remember that, was the supervisor. This is Mr. Allen, supervisor of the press shop. This is one of the lads come to learn press operating to go on permanent nights. So when I told Oliver, I said, you let her put up with what's coming. I'm telling you, the job that I've taken on is, after a fortnight's time, it'll be permanent night work. But I said, I don't care, money. I said, it's more money. So she said, all right, mate, we'll do that. She said, anything for life. After about 4 or 5 days, 3 or 4 days, I said to Jimmy McDowell, I'll remember these names because they're things that stick in your mind. I said, how am I doing then, Jimmy? Harry, he said, you're making a bloody good operator. You're a good operator. He said, you know Sid Griffiths? He said, yeah. He said, Sid has asked me to ask you if you'd like to do number 2 on the press with him. So I said, yeah, okay. Anyway, what it was, he was the operator of the press, and the number 2 was working the material. So it was a material that they used to print, used to cut the diaphragms out for the petrol pumps. Diaphragm that, you know, where they fitted into the petrol pumps to cut them out, and of course that would be dead on clip. You had to listen for that clip, and then stop, clip. We got so well on it that Jimmy McDowell said to us one night, he said, you two ain't starting until 10 o'clock. So he said, why? He said, well, you're well up on your quota of what you've got to make. He said, you're too good at press operating. So he said, we're giving you an hour's waiting time. He said, you get a certain amount of rate of pay for that hour that you're waiting. He said, just to hold you on. He said, and then you can get back on your machine and get cracking.
Well, you've had a fascinating, you've had a fascinating life.
Yeah.
And I think that's all the questions we've got. We'd like to really thank you for taking the time to share your memories with us. I've really enjoyed it.
You've contributed to an amazing archive, which we're building at the moment. You've got amazing stories you've told us.
Yeah.
Definitely, 100%, and we're so grateful, so grateful.